Let's move on. The US President Donald Trump is a popular man with the media. He's either being celebrated or lampooned. There's almost always never a middle ground when it comes to commentary on Mr. Trump. In the latest, his stand on illegal immigration has landed him on the cover of Time magazine again. The blood-red cover juxtaposes a small Honduran girl in a pink jacket crying as she looks up at the towering figure of the suited American president. A hint of a smile playing on his lips. Now, hovering above the little girl in small white typeface is a caption that reads, "Welcome to America." The image is powerful and is a clear commentary on the US president's zero-tolerance policy on illegal immigration, one that till very recently called for the separation of children from their parents when found crossing the US-Mexico border illegally. The photo of the child was taken by Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer John Moore for Getty Images. Now, according to Time, Moore has been photographing immigrants crossing the border for years. The cover has not surprisingly gone viral, with many celebrating it as a hard-hitting takedown of Trump's border policy. But here's the twist. The father of the little Honduran girl says she was never separated from her mother, an account confirmed by his country's deputy foreign minister, raising questions on whether the image of little Sandra Sanchez has been used out of context for a titillating cover. And the Trumps, it seems, can't catch a break. The president's Time magazine cover is already causing a storm even after he went into damage control mode, rolling back his separation policy. But now it's his wife, the First Lady, who's created a stir. With a finger on the pulse, Mrs. Trump made a surprise visit to the US-Mexico border, where she toured a non-profit center for children who entered the US illegally. Remember, Trump had credited Melania for his change of heart on the separation policy, and yet, despite her insistence that she hated to see children taken from their parents, her choice of outfit said something else altogether. Mrs. Trump decided to wear a jacket emblazoned with a caption on its back reading, quote, "I really don't care, do you?" end quote. The backlash was swift, with many asking if this was a fashion faux pas or a pointed statement. Meanwhile, her husband decided to spin things a different way, tweeting to say, quote, "I really don't care, do you?" written on the back of Melania's jacket refers to the fake news media. Melania has learned how dishonest they are, and she truly no longer cares, end quote. There were reports of thousands of children being separated from their parents in recent weeks as a direct result of the Trump administration's quote-unquote zero-tolerance policy on unlawful border crossings. But the president, too, seems to have made amends on the policy. He has officially invited Democratic leaders to the White House to discuss the immigration legislation.
You did a hell of a job.
However, there are still questions that remain over what exactly this new policy will entail.
Going over, it's a 22, 23-hour flight. And take a look at some of the court rulings against the Obama administration. They talked about inhumane treatment. I read them. I looked at them. They're all over the place. Inhumane treatment. They were treating them terribly. We have a situation where some of these places, they're really running them well. And I give a lot of credit to Secretary Nielsen and all of the people that have worked. It's the nicest that people have seen. But it's still something that shouldn't be taking place.
Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives defeated a Republican bill designed to significantly reduce visas for legal immigration to the U.S. and to temporarily protect the illegal Dreamer youths from deportation. The House defeated the measure on a vote of 193 to 231 as a group of Republicans joined Democrats to sink the plan. The House had been scheduled to vote on a second immigration bill on Thursday, which could appeal to more Republicans, but Republican leaders postponed consideration of that measure until Friday as they sought to build more support. Immigration and Europe, need we say more? It's the hot-button issue on the continent, and every day seems to bring a new contour to the conversation. The latest is from the French President Emmanuel Macron, who has likened rising nationalism and anti-immigrant sentiment in Europe to leprosy. His comments come ahead of a planned meeting of European leaders on tackling the migrant crisis. The French president also urged his fellow citizens not to give in to anti-EU sentiment. He said, quote, "I am saying to you in the gravest terms, many hate it, but they have hated it for a long time. And now you see them rise like leprosy all around Europe. in countries where we thought that they would never reappear. These included friends and neighbors who say the worst things and we become used to it." End quote. Macron didn't divulge more as to who he was referring to, but France and Italy, remember, have been trading some barbs over the past week over Rome's refusal to take in a boatload of migrants rescued from the Mediterranean. The 629 passengers on board the Aquarius were also rejected by Malta before they were eventually taken in by Spain, a case which has reflected how mounting anti-migrant sentiment exists in Europe. Staying with Europe, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel says that her country is still safe for foreigners and for migrants. She was speaking at a town hall meeting with students at the German-Jordanian University near Amman. Merkel reassured a Jordanian student that she needn't be afraid of going to Germany.
Ja, ich glaube, im Großen und Ganzen müssen Sie keine Angst haben. Ich kann jetzt nicht ausschließen, dass irgendjemand auch mal eine schlechte Bemerkung macht. Aber das kann, glaube ich, überall einmal vorkommen. Aber im Großen und Ganzen ist Deutschland weiter ein sicheres Land, auch wenn es Vorfälle gegeben hat, sowohl bei denen ausländische Bürger Anwürfen und Angriffen ausgesetzt waren. Aber es hat leider auch Ereignisse gegeben, wo Flüchtlinge junge Mädchen zum Beispiel ermordet haben. Also wir haben von beiden Seiten solche Dinge.
The Chancellor added that she recognized that Jordan's recent wave of protests, where thousands took to the streets against a series of tax raises and led to the resignation of government officials, was due to a difficult economic situation in the country. Earlier this week, Merkel had pushed other European Union leaders to further curb immigration and restrict movement of asylum seekers within the European Union to help keep her ruling coalition from crumbling back home. Now, her partner in that coalition, the Christian Social Union from the southern German state of Bavaria, has said that it will bar from Germany all asylum seekers registered in other EU states unless a summit of all EU leaders later in June agrees to a bloc-wide deal to share them out evenly. After meeting today in the Austrian capital Vienna, the oil producers group OPEC has reached a deal to raise oil output from July. Reports say that OPEC has agreed to raise oil production by around 1 million barrels per day for the group and its allies. Earlier, the de facto OPEC leader, Saudi Arabia, convinced arch rival Iran to cooperate over the production policy. The energy ministers had been laying the groundwork all week for today's biannual meeting in Vienna. The OPEC kingpin, Saudi Arabia, and non-member Russia had urged major suppliers to ramp up production by about 1 million barrels per day after 18 months of tight output controls. The proposal had earlier become a near consensus among the 14-member group and its allies.